Imagine being locked up for 32 years for a crime you didn't commit. That's what happened to my first guest. He was wrongfully convicted of murder in 1987 at the age of 19 and sentenced to life in prison. Now he is free after witnesses recanted and a prisoner spoke up about the real killer. Joining me now is Danny Burton, along with a member of his legal team, attorney Madeline Sinkovich. Thanks both of you for being here.
Thank you for welcoming me here, Steve.
Yeah. So Danny, I can't read about or think about your story without thinking how close in age the two of us are. You're a few years older than I am, and it's really hard for me to even fathom what things happened to you over the majority of your adult life compared to what has happened to me. I can't picture the last 32 years of my life being what they were for you. So I'm happy that you're out and experiencing life in a different way now, but I want to start with you telling us what that was like. What was it like to spend 32 years in prison for something you didn't do?
Well, I'll say it was a nightmare. A nightmare. I was finally awoken that the day I was released. Well, actually, I didn't know I was going to be released that day. But my lawyer, he called up to the facility and expressed to me that I would be having a hearing. I thought the hearing was about, gathering evidence, but at the time it was about my release. Mm-hmm. And it was a joyful day that day.
Yeah.
Like to say, I couldn't believe it once I was leaving the compound that I was a free man.
So let's go back to 1987. You're 19 years old. What were the circumstances that led to this conviction?
Well, the circumstances were a friend of mine was shot and killed. At the time, he was visiting a home on a house that was on Lisdale. I had no clue about what happened, but I was told that someone had shot him and robbed him. And thereafter, I was arrested for his murder. I couldn't understand why, but police was insistent on that I was the one who committed the crime. I was saddened by my friend's death, but I was hoping that someday we would come to this day to find out who did it. And by the assistance of Miss Claudia Whitman, we finally found out who.
You found out who really did it.
Killed him. Yeah.
Can you remember the way that the police told you they thought that you had done it? What was the evidence? What were the circumstances that led them to think that you were the killer?
Well, there was no evidence or circumstances. Mm-hmm. He just said, "Hey, you murdered this guy," and I tried to explain to him that it was how could I be the murderer? And he was a friend of mine. And I loaned him my car, but the officer, he was not hearing it, and eventually I was arrested and bonded over for court and convicted.
Yeah. Do you remember the lawyer who represented you at the trial then?
It was lawyer. I think it was.
It doesn't matter what the name was, but I'm just trying to get at how helpful that lawyer might have been to you.
Well, actually, I had two lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
I switched from one to the other, and they believed in my innocence,
mm-hmm.
but at the same time, they couldn't prove it at the time because the witnesses was coerced and threatened by the arresting officer. I didn't realize this until 20-something years later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Eventually, Claudia, she stepped up and did a thorough investigation, and here I am today.
Yeah. Madeline, unfortunately, this is not, it's an uncommon story, but it's not a one-of-a-kind story. It's not that uncommon. There are a lot of people in our prisons who don't belong there.
Absolutely. And the first thing that Danny said to us when we met him outside the prison that day was, there are so many more innocent people inside. We need to start helping them immediately. So to think someone who could spend 32 years in a nightmare, the first thing they want to do is help others to get out of this nightmare.
Yeah. Talk about your involvement in the case and how you came to be representing Danny.
Well, I'm fortunate to be on a team of people that are very committed to this issue. And actually, before I was even a full-blown attorney, this team had already found the evidence. Claudia had already brought it to the team, and a lot of people who aren't attorneys spent a lot of time weaving, or going through evidence, trying to figure out what actually happened here. And it takes an entire team of people to put this all together. And I'm not going to sit here and take credit for the hard work of what others did. If it wasn't for Claudia and other investigators knocking on people's doors and getting the true story, it took 15 years.
Yeah, yeah. The story about the police and their effort to coerce the witnesses, how did it become evident that that's what happened in Danny's trial? For a lot of people that this happens to, no one ever goes back to look. What was it that suggested that there was something wrong here?
I think it was when the witnesses said, when confronted with an investigator who cares about Danny, they said, yes, I was coerced, I was very scared. And maybe after so many years, the fear of your family being hurt from telling the truth went away a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Danny, can you tell us just a little about what life is like now for you and what you're trying to do?
Well, it's breathtaking. Within the weeks I've been out, I've been trying to. I haven't had much sleep because I'm trying to take in much as I can, and
Right.
Detroit is really beautiful now, and I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah. What about your future? I mean, you've lost 32 years of your life. You can't get that back.
Right.
But talk about what you would like to build for yourself now.
Well, my focus is on first my children. I haven't had the chance to watch them grow up. I haven't had the chance to watch them graduate. I haven't had the chance to really bond with them. And that's what I want to do. And hopefully they get to know me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. I mean, I think everyone can understand
Absolutely.
how emotional that issue is for you. Madeline, one of the things you guys are working on is also this idea that there should be some compensation
Absolutely.
for Danny. This is a controversial issue in our, let's try to find a tissue somewhere for Danny. This idea that when people are wronged this way, they should be compensated. There is a state law that says that it's still difficult to get the right thing to happen.
It is still very difficult, and it's not automatic. And there's still a lot of procedural hurdles one has to go through in order to even consider getting this money, to even put it in front of the state and say, I deserve this. It's, a lawsuit is involved, and it takes an exonerated individual to sue the state. And so there's still many high evidentiary hurdles you have to meet. So the process is difficult. And I know there's a lot of exonerated individuals hoping that to get something back from all those years.
Right, right. What about work and just building your life? What kinds of things are you looking forward to?
Well, right now, I don't have a birth certificate or a license or Social Security card. My intent is, my plan is to get a job.
And that's because those things were lost when you were?
Well, when I was released, none of those things was given to me or provided to me by the state. So right now, they're working to try to speed things up to give me my birth certificate. And hopefully, I can go from there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is really great that that you're out, and that the person who did this is the person who did this going to be paying for that somehow?
Hopefully,
Yeah.
justice has revealed to this month. At this time, I'm hoping that they move forward in the investigation to apprehend the guys that were responsible for my friend's death.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, and I mean, I can't express how overwhelming the feeling is of joy that you're finally able to live your life.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you guys for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stephen.